Loving life and on top of the world. So what next for Emma Raducanu? The British teenager and US Open champion, now one of the biggest names in tennis.
Right now, no care in the world, I'm just loving life.
Her star in ascendancy, how many more young players will be inspired to follow? Also on the programme, the Health Secretary rules out so-called COVID passports in England. And Lewis Hamilton narrowly avoids serious injury after a crash with rival Max Verstappen.
This is ITV News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. Emma Raducanu says she is loving life and hasn't got a care in the world after the teenager stormed to victory to become Britain's first female Grand Slam champion for 44 years. Her straight sets triumph at the US Open last night has seen her go from an A-level student ranked outside the top 300 players in the world 3 months ago to one of tennis's biggest stars. Or from Flushing Meadows, Robert Moore reports.
Your 2021 US Open Women's Champion, Emma Raducanu.
This was the greatest British triumph in women's tennis for decades, and perhaps the most unlikely in the history of the sport. Emma Raducanu's victory is the first time ever that a qualifier has held a Grand Slam trophy aloft. No wonder she could barely believe it. That she beat a fellow teenager, Leylah Fernandez of Canada, made this a generational moment as well.
Great role models they are. They're leading by example. And
Raducanu told reporters here that she's been living in a bubble and she hasn't tracked the reaction back home.
I'm not even thinking about when I'm going home. I have no idea when I'm going home. I've got no idea what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm just really trying to embrace the moment and really take it all in. And I think it's definitely the time to just switch off from any future thoughts or from any plans, any schedule. I've got absolutely no clue. And right now, no care in the world. I'm just loving life.
She has stunned the tennis world with her fearless game and composure under pressure.
All hail the Queen of Queens.
She served out the championship with an ace. We caught up with fans who could barely believe what they had just witnessed.
It's hard to put it in context, honestly. We're just walking out and cannot believe what we just witnessed, and yet somehow never doubted it for a moment, which was amazing.
It's incredible. 18 years old, unbelievable.
Her precocious talent extended to the media as well. As first, she thanked New Yorkers for their support.
I really, really appreciate it. You got me through some really tough moments, so thank you so much.
And then, in tribute to her mother's heritage, she spoke to fans in China.
大家好，我想说谢谢。我希望你喜欢看我的网球。我现在特别开心，但是我们赢了，姐姐我爱你。
We have seen here in Flushing Meadows the birth of a British sporting superstar. And this, of course, may be just the start of her extraordinary journey.
Oh, Robert joins us now from New York. Robert, as you say, an incredible achievement. So what next for Emma Raducanu?
Well, she has woken up here in central Manhattan to an entirely new world, from a near anonymity to being a global sporting phenomenon. I was speaking to members of her team late last night. They are so astonished at what she did here that there has been no planning. They haven't decided, for example, what tournaments she's going to play. They haven't decided when she'll come home to Bromley. They haven't decided what sponsorship and marketing opportunities she will embrace. But what Emma Raducanu said yesterday was it was her fearless brand of tennis that has taken her this far, and she insisted that part of her game is not going to change.
All right, Robert, New York, thank you. Well, while she figures out her next move, it seems Emma Raducanu's focus is getting back to the UK to celebrate for the first time with her family and friends. She shared this photo with the trophy this morning, tweeting, "We are taking her home." When they both make it back to Bromley, she'll see what an impact her success is already having on the game's young players, as Sangeeta Lal reports.
On the same tennis courts Emma Raducanu trained on, young players now hoping for her same success. Overnight, she's become an idol for many here, and she's lit the way for those dreaming of a chance to be a tennis star too.
It makes me feel like I can achieve a lot, and I know that I'm leading the way that Emma's leading, and maybe one day I could play against her and I could win a Grand Slam of my own.
First thing I thought, I was like, OK, she's very young, and if she can do that, I can go play too.
To get there, though, takes determination, something Emma always knew from a young age.
I would say to persevere even when faced with a lot of adversity, because myself, I was faced with quite a lot of challenges growing up, but I'm still developing, and I'm developing quite well.
So well, in fact, just 3 years after that interview, her training took her to the top of her sport. Success that followed years of intense coaching and support to help her stay focused.
On these courts, we would, if she was struggling in a session, I remember picking out a few of her peers and going, look, this person's practicing, this person's playing more than you. We've got to work harder. And those are the sort of things that would really motivate her.
A winning mentality that's been recognised by the Queen, who said it is a remarkable achievement at such a young age and a testament to your hard work and dedication. Emma Raducanu has now become the face of modern tennis that everyone wants to back.
The last time I had this much interest from brands talking about sponsoring a British athlete was Lewis Hamilton when he broke through into Formula One.
She is already a legend in British sporting history, whose story will be told for generations to young tennis stars inspired by her. Sangeeta Lal, ITV News.
On to other news, and the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, has announced that the government is scrapping the plan for vaccine passports to be required for access to nightclubs and other packed venues in England. The U-turn comes just days after the Scottish Government backed the measures north of the border. Well, this week, Boris Johnson will confirm plans to hand back temporary powers to close schools and lock down businesses. Our political correspondent, Carl Dinham, reports.
It wasn't fully vaccinated old folk who ran onto the dance floors when nightclubs reopened. So were plans to make vaccine passports a condition of entry just a ruse to get more young people jabbed? Whatever the reasons, today those plans were dropped.
We've looked at it properly, and whilst we should keep it in reserve as a potential option, I'm pleased to say that we will not be going ahead with plans for vaccine passports.
That's good news for nightclubs, of course.
We are delighted. It gives us independence, the opportunity to further plan and put events on, and to have that confidence of knowing what is needed from us.
And in Westminster, vaccine passports had many enemies and few friends.
Well, we've always been a little bit sceptical about where and when vaccine passports would be needed. But I would say with the virus circulating at the levels it is circulating, it is still relatively high. We still need other measures in place to protect people.
But this week the government will give up some of its powers to close schools and businesses to combat the virus.
By actually telling the public that the government intends to remove any powers for restrictions, it in a way sends the wrong public message, as if the virus is behind us. So I think it's really important that the government is clear about the actual state of COVID in this nation, which is high levels of infection, high levels of hospitalisation and illness.
The Prime Minister's message this week will be that vaccines are the first line of defence, and there is speculation that more announcements are coming on jabs for younger teenagers and booster jabs for adults. Carl Dinnan, ITV News.
The Great North Run returned to the streets of Newcastle after being suspended last year due to COVID. Around 57,000 people took part in the half marathon with staggered starts to help social distancing. And Lewis Hamilton escaped injury in today's Italian Grand Prix after a dramatic collision with Formula One title rival Max Verstappen. The two drivers came together and the Dutchman's Red Bull landed on top of Hamilton's Mercedes, where the world champion was unhurt, largely thanks to the so-called halo bar above the cockpit, which protects the driver's head. Verstappen has been given a three-place grid penalty for the next Grand Prix. Today's race was won by Daniel Ricciardo. And that is it for now. I'm back with the late news at 10. Until then, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.